Here's more wrestling news for March 30th, 2022. And your headlines for this afternoon include: WWE executive confirms company is looking for younger stars with NIL deal. WWE officially changes Xavier Woods' name again. This is terrible. Vince McMahon ordered a complete rewrite of Brock Lesnar's WWE profile page. Tony Khan having complex discussions yet again. WWE finally acknowledges Bron Breakker's father is Rick Steiner on NXT 2.0. Ronda Rousey describes why creative plans change in WWE. The Rock made top WWE superstar cry. Why Erick Redbeard doesn't want to be the on-screen leader of Dark Order. Ricochet shares a message on fan etiquette, and more. WWE is always on the hunt for the next breakout star, and in December 2021 announced the launch of the NIL program, giving college athletes a direct road to the company. At the time, it was reported that WWE wanted the average age of their signings to come down, and that's now been confirmed by a very important name in the company. Sitting down with ESPN, WWE's Senior Vice President for Global Talent Strategy James Kimball discussed the Next in Line program, saying that WWE wants the age of signings to come down, adding that by the time they're on Raw or SmackDown, call-ups should be around 25 years old. Gable Steveson, the first signing to the NIL program, is just 21 years old and has said that his WWE career will fully get underway after WrestleMania 38. WWE is now planning on locking down young stars to big contracts with the company, and it may be a very long time before we can tell whether this bold new strategy pays off in the long run. On last Friday's SmackDown, King Woods returned to TV after being off with an injury since early January. Returning to aid Kofi Kingston, Woods' return was a welcomed sight after Big E's neck injury, but the King of the Ring has undergone a name change. On WWE.com, the company made it official that Woods is now Xavier Woods once again, and was introduced as such on last week's show. Interestingly, the graphic promoting the upcoming WrestleMania match where Woods and Kofi will face Sheamus and Ridge Holland also calls the King by his commoner name, and the image used for him doesn't feature his crown or any regal garb. After speaking for months about wanting to bring back the King of the Ring tournament, Woods captured the crown in Saudi Arabia last year, but it seems his reign as king has come to a quiet, anticlimactic end. Speaking of kings, Brock Lesnar captured the crown during his rookie year in WWE and has gone on to become one of the biggest stars of all time. The reigning WWE champion and former Universal champion, Lesnar has plenty of accolades to his name that could fill several pages on WWE.com. Speaking to Sportskeeda this week, former WWE writer John Ryman discussed Lesnar and said how there was a time when Vince McMahon himself took great interest in the bios on his website. Vince said, "What are we doing with those, by the way?" And they said, "What do you mean?" He's like, "When's the last time we updated them?" Then someone brought up the website and he just started going through, and the first one they had, of course, was Brock Lesnar, and Vince went, "Ugh, this is terrible. We gotta take this all down." In real time, they deleted his bio from the website, and then they spent, I heard, 2 hours as a group rewriting Brock Lesnar's bio, and it was literally Vince saying, like, "magnificent, monstrous." They got to the end and he goes, "Who's next?" They were like, "Randy Orton." He's like, "Do that tomorrow." That was the end of the meeting. WWE is often slow when updating their website profile pages, as Cesaro is still listed as an active SmackDown superstar, but the boss wasn't afraid to take care making sure Lesnar's online presence matched his dominance in the ring. Since day one of AEW launching, fans have been waiting for the launch of a streaming service which would allow users access to a ton of AEW's archived footage. With the recent acquisition of Ring of Honor, Tony Khan now has even more content to put on a service if he chooses to, and it's expected that this hypothetical streaming service will eventually come to HBO Max. HBO Max is owned by Warner Media, as is TBS and TNT, and this week, Khan gave fans an update about how things are going. Appearing on Strong Style Live, Khan said that he doesn't know for sure where his content will go exactly, but that he is talking to Warner Media all the time and having very complex and important conversations about a future streaming service. AEW recently trademarked the phrase "watch your wrestling," a go-to line used by Khan when asked about the competition between AEW and WWE, but this phrase may get a whole new meaning when the AEW president finds a permanent home for AEW and ROH content. Back to WWE, and since coming to the company, Bron Breakker has proven himself to be a star of NXT 2.0, but the company has shied away from a very obvious fact about the former NXT champion. On TV, WWE has never acknowledged that Bron is the son of Rick Steiner, despite it being common knowledge by fans, but that all changed this week. During last night's episode, the NXT 2.0 commentary team were hyping, and when referencing the upcoming Hall of Fame induction of the Steiner brothers, made it clear that Bron is a Steiner and a second-generation superstar. Despite giving Bron a moveset matching his father and uncle and cutting promos like his father and uncle, WWE didn't want fans to know he was related to his father and uncle, but it's expected that Bron himself will do the induction this Friday at the Hall of Fame ceremony. One name expected to go into the Hall of Fame one day is Ronda Rousey, who has lost just one match throughout her entire WWE career. Like all superstars though, plans for Rousey could change at a moment's notice, as the backstage workings of WWE is often a chaotic scramble each week to put TV shows together. Speaking on a recent Facebook live stream, the #1 contender for the SmackDown Women's Championship opened up about WWE's creative process, saying that while people will have an idea of what they want months in advance, nothing is set in stone. Rousey added that it's often up to referees who need to make on-the-fly decisions during matches, saying that as a performer she gets curveballs all the time. The former Raw Women's Champion has said that no matter what the result this weekend, she plans on staying with WWE after WrestleMania, and we are sure WWE will be pleased to keep one of the biggest mainstream stars to ever step foot in their ring. Very few wrestlers have become as popular in the mainstream as much as The Rock, who is one of the highest earning stars in Hollywood, but he hasn't forgotten about the industry he first made his name in. It's no secret that the Brahma Bull will still watch wrestling, and last month praised Montez Ford after the Street Profits called Rock a huge influence on his life. In his response, the Great One called Ford a future WWE World Champion, and that greatly moved the former Raw Tag Team Champion, who told the Believe in Pro Wrestling podcast, "I can't even put into words, but I did cry a little bit. I will not lie, because it was big for me, man. It's just so cool to see your heroes recognize you and say like, hey man, I see you, man. And I appreciate that. I still do, to this day. Because like I said, I've been through a lot of stuff in my life, and Rock has been there in his own way, just him being himself. He's been there and helped me to be who I am today and inspired me to who I am today. The success is everything." On this week's Raw, the Profits turned heel when they attacked RK Bro and could regain the Raw Tag Team titles this weekend at WrestleMania, but as far as The Rock is concerned, Ford will one day be holding a much bigger singles championship. AEW news next as Erick Redbeard returned to the company on the road to Revolution, aligning himself with Pac and Penta Oscuro against the House of Black. Before then, Redbeard had appeared on the show to pay tribute to his former tag partner, the late Brody Lee, who had operated as the leader of the Dark Order before his tragic passing in December 2020. Appearing on the Wrestle Buddy podcast to talk about his latest stint in AEW, Erick said he'd love to have a longer program in the company, but flat out refused to become the new leader of the Dark Order. Since Brody's passing, the group has made it clear that they are not looking to have another leader, claiming that they had the best leader they could ever have in Lee, so if Redbeard does get a more permanent return to AEW, we know one thing that he definitely won't be doing. For decades, WWE has trademarked as much as they can, from event names and images to the names of talent themselves. WWE has traditionally fought tooth and nail to keep ownership of these trademarks, but that has changed over the past year. When Matt Hardy left WWE in 2020, there was an agreement with WWE that ownerships of trademarks would pass over to him, and it's now reported that WWE has made good on that promise. In filings obtained by Heel by Nature, it's confirmed that Matt was granted full ownership of WWE's trademarks related to him on March 7th this year, and he's not the only ex-superstar WWE is helping out. Jim Ross, Mickie James, Ric Flair, Carl Anderson, Lio Rush, and CM Punk have all received trademarks from WWE, allowing these stars to use the names they are best known for, despite WWE having at one point owned those terms. While WWE could have kept these trademarks, it's good to see the company allow former superstars the chance to use them and make serious money from names many made famous working for Vince McMahon. And we're ending today with the Intercontinental Champion Ricochet, who hasn't been booked for WrestleMania 38 yet, but has had some choice words about fan etiquette. Since coming to WWE, the one and only has been a bona fide babyface adored by the crowd for his athletic ability, but there are some fans who take things too far. On Twitter, Ricochet made himself clear that any fans who are waiting in the lobby of his hotel or have been waiting at the airport for hours just to get him to sign multiple items are invading his privacy. Ricochet said that if someone has been stalking his location like this just to score some autographs, he'll say no to the request, but added that if fans spot him out and about, then he'll be more than happy to say hi and chat. Like any other person, Ricochet has a right to privacy. And if you find yourself waiting hours at his hotel just to get some figures signed before putting them on eBay, expect the reigning Intercontinental Champion to decline the request. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.